Good, happy Friday morning, April 24, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this morning edition of Good Morning, New Hampshire. Rise and shine, everyone. Let's get this Friday off to a good start. Grab your cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy some Good Morning, New Hampshire. We have a little bit of everything for you in this program for everyone, so we hope you enjoy your Friday edition of Good Morning, New Hampshire. We're going to begin with the news. We're going to start off with local news first. First up, 3 new COVID-19 deaths related to institutional outbreaks in New Hampshire. Officials say 1,670 known coronavirus cases in New Hampshire, officials say. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
These are truly challenging times, but New Hampshire companies are here and open for business.
Mid-State's healthcare team has been your trusted community healthcare partner for more than 20 years.
All 3 of these individuals were associated with institutional outbreaks such as long-term care facilities or nursing homes.
And it's not just today's new deaths. The state epidemiologist says that's true for more than half the state's 51 total deaths.
Which is why we're putting such a heavy emphasis on protecting this more vulnerable population.
The health commissioner confirmed 2 new outbreaks, with 20 positive cases found at nursing homes in Derry, and updated previously confirmed outbreaks, including a total of 43 people with the virus inside an assisted living facility in Dover, and more than 180 cases among 2 facilities in Manchester. 40 people have COVID-19 at an assisted living facility in Nashua, and at another in Salem, there's 26 more. However, the dark numbers come with a light of progress. The state says over the last week, the daily number of COVID-19 tests being performed has doubled. But the governor says his current stay-at-home order will likely extend beyond May 4th.
Unfortunately, the data just isn't supporting pulling back on too much right now.
Sununu says he's embracing federal guidance regarding a 14-day positive trend in data, something the state hasn't seen yet. But he says his administration is looking at geographic or demographic flexibility to reopen the state.
Not everything is going to open on the same day. Certain things can open up maybe in a week or 2, and other things maybe can't open up for a month or 2.
In the meantime, health officials say as a result of their increased testing efforts, New Hampshire residents should expect the number of positive cases in the state to also go up. Reporting live in Concord, Tyler Dumont, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at your COVID-19 information, what you need to know. And here's a look at that COVID-19 in New Hampshire, what you need to know. There are 1,670 number of people in New Hampshire have tested positive for COVID-19. 856,209 number of people in the United States who have tested positive. 51 number of deaths from COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 218 number of people who have been hospitalized with COVID-19 in New Hampshire. And 47,272 number of deaths from COVID-19 in the United States. This map of New Hampshire right here shows you where cases of COVID-19 are in the towns and cities of New Hampshire. In Nashua, 149 cases of COVID-19. This chart here, new cases each day in New Hampshire. In the purple, daily new positive COVID-19 cases. In the orange, new hospitalizations. And in the red are the deaths. Why don't the numbers match up? Here's why. COVID-19 by age groups. COVID-19 by female and male. and risk information. Your common symptoms: fever, lack of smell, cough, and difficult breathing, how it spreads, and prevention tips. And we're going to switch gears now. Let's go into national news. In national news, man who led U.S. drug agency removed from his post. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Doctor at the Department of Health and Human Services tonight. He'd been helping to lead the fight to develop a vaccine. He now says he's been removed from his post, he says, because he spoke up about drugs not backed by science, including hydroxychloroquine. Here's Terry Moran tonight.
Tonight, Dr. Rick Bright, who led the key federal agency that's developing drugs and a vaccine to fight the coronavirus, is suddenly out of his job, and he's speaking out. Bright says he was abruptly removed from his post this week because, he claims, he insisted on rigorous science-based vetting of hydroxychloroquine, the anti-malaria drug that's been embraced by President Trump.
I think it could be something really incredible, like we're having some very good things happening with it.
Dr. Bright, in a statement he released after being transferred to another agency, declared, "I am speaking out because to combat this deadly virus, science, not politics or cronyism, has to lead the way." Bright says he defied directives to push the anti-malaria drug, saying it was being promoted by the administration as a panacea, but clearly lacks scientific merit. The Veterans Administration tried it on COVID-19 patients, and researchers say it may lead to a higher death rate. Jonathan Karl pressed the president on those new findings.
A panel of experts at the NIH is actually now recommending against the use of hydroxychloroquine in combination with Z-Pak, which is something you've been recommending.
I'm always willing to take a look. Brett?
Trump and his allies have hyped the drug repeatedly to the apparent dismay of Dr. Anthony Fauci, who's called the evidence for its use anecdotal. And when Fauci tried to answer a question from a reporter earlier this month, he was pushed aside by the president.
Correct?
He's answered that question 15 times.
So let's bring in Terry Moran live from Washington tonight. And Terry, this doctor is now calling for an investigation.
That's right, David. Dr. Bright is asking the Inspector General of the Department of Health and Human Services to investigate what the doctor says is, quote, the politicization of work on medicines and a vaccine for the coronavirus. And the doctor's also hired lawyers, the same lawyers who represented Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, Justice Brett Kavanaugh's accuser. They say that his removal from that post was, quote, retaliation, plain and simple, and they want to see him reinstated. David?
All right, Terry, thank you.
Okay, there you go on that video and that report. And let's take a look at the coronavirus updates for around the world. China reports no new COVID-19 deaths for 9th straight day as the U.S. nears 50,000. The U.S. death toll from the virus is approaching 50,000. Today's biggest developments. Global cases surpass 2.7 million. U.S. death toll nears 50,000. And China reports no new deaths for the 9th straight day. And we're going to switch gears now. Let's go into business news. In business news, Dow futures jump 150 points as oil continues rebound from historic lows. U.S. stocks rose in Friday morning trade following a wild session on Wall Street as oil prices continue to recover from their unprecedented sell-off. And we're going to switch gears now. Let's go into weather and traffic. We're going to begin with the weather first. Your weather right now is cloudy, 42 degrees. Your weather for today, rain ending this morning, remaining cloudy, high 47 degrees, winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour, chance of rain 90%. And now let's take a look at the traffic. And here's a look at the traffic for all of you. This morning, in Henniker, you're seeing smooth sailing. Hopkinton, smooth sailing. Bow, Pembroke, Concord, all smooth sailing. Chichester, smooth sailing. Epsom, smooth sailing. Northwood, smooth sailing with some medium-paced traffic. Lee, smooth sailing with a little spot of slow and medium-paced traffic. Durham, smooth sailing with some medium-paced traffic. Rochester, smooth sailing. Somersworth, smooth sailing. Dover, smooth sailing. And Portsmouth, smooth sailing. Maine, smooth sailing. Rye, smooth sailing. Northampton, smooth sailing. Hampton, smooth sailing. And we have a fire department activity on New Hampshire 1A Ocean Boulevard at Anchor Street. Seabrook, smooth sailing into the border of Massachusetts. 101, all smooth sailing on 101. Manchester and Hooksett, all smooth sailing. The Manchester Airport, smooth sailing with some construction. Bedford, smooth sailing with some slow traffic. Amherst, smooth sailing, and Milford, smooth sailing. Merrimack, Nashua, into the border of Massachusetts, all smooth sailing. Nashua, Milford, smooth sailing with some medium-paced traffic. Manchester, Derry, Windham, Salem, into the border of Massachusetts, all smooth sailing. And that is a look at your traffic this Friday morning. And we're going to switch gears now. Let's go into New Hampshire Life segment. In today's New Hampshire Life segment, New Hampshire Reopening Task Force considered 4-phase plan for restaurants and lodging industries. Hope to begin first phase on May 5th. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
These are truly challenging times, but New Hampshire companies are here and open for business.
Mid-State's healthcare team has been your...
With dining rooms empty and many hotels closed, New Hampshire's hospitality industry has lost $800 million in this pandemic so far. Mike Summers is the head of the New Hampshire Lodging and Restaurants Association. He says roughly half the industry's 70,000 employees have been laid off or furloughed. He sits on the governor's reopening task force and presented a plan to reopen his industry in 4 phases, beginning with outdoor dining and tables at least 6 feet apart.
We think that that's a relatively small step in the grand scheme of things, and frankly, as the industry, we'd like to see that happen relatively quickly. We'd love to see it happen May 5th.
Phase 2, indoor seating would reopen with tables at least 6 feet apart, no buffets, and no more than 10 per table.
Ultimately, this would allow you in your immediate group to essentially go out to dinners.
Hotels would reopen too with extra sanitizing measures. Exercise areas would remain closed, and so would other gathering areas. Phase 3 would expand the number of people allowed at each table, and hotels could reopen exercise facilities. Phase 4, things would go back to near normal with upgraded cleaning and sanitizing measures. Now, there's no timeline here, but in each phase, staff will get their temperatures taken when they arrive for their shift, frequent hand washing required, PPE available, and hand sanitizer stations for customers and staff. Now, over the next week, the task force will meet every weekday at 3 to talk about how to reopen various industries. The public is encouraged and invited to listen. That information is on our website. You can just click on this story. There will be 2 meetings for public comment as well, remotely, of course, April 30th from 1 to 3 p.m. and May 1st from 9 to 11 a.m. You can also send written comments to the email you see there at the bottom of your screen. That is nhreopen@nheconomy.com. Live remotely, Monica Hernandez, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And we're going to switch gears now. Let's go into healthy and lifestyle tips. Is it safe to take sleeping aids? Let's take a listen to that video from Good Morning America.
Unfortunately, we are a society that is really hooked on prescription sleeping pills. I can't emphasize this enough. There are no prescription sleeping pills that are approved for long-term use. So Zolpidem, which is sold under the brand name Ambien, that is for short-term, limited use. It can be safe and effective in the short term, 100%, but it is not for every single night, week after week, month after month, year after year. Neither is Xanax or any other benzodiazepine. So if you are finding that you cannot sleep without a sleeping pill, you really should talk to your doctor, your healthcare provider, about what is the end point. Can you switch it up, lower the dose, alternate it with something else? Because that does affect your brain chemistry. There's no question about it. Lastly, Benadryl. It is a sedating antihistamine. It is used for sleep. It is known to shorten REM stage sleep. So people will typically be knocked out when they take Benadryl, but often will wake up feeling groggy. So it might make them feel more tired, but their sleep is not as restful. So really, I caution people about indefinite, long-term, forever use of any prescription sleeping pill. I think that the harms outweigh any of the benefits.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And we're going to switch gears now. Let's go into entertainment news. In entertainment news, today, Meghan McCain sheds Elizabeth Hasselbeck. Let's take a listen to that video from Entertainment Tonight.
I think it's really unfortunate and dangerous that she said that, and I don't need to co-host with her again.
Yeah, that's Meghan McCain throwing some serious shade at Elizabeth Hasselbeck after she said Americans should pray away the coronavirus.
Anybody who's screwing around with this virus and putting out sort of misinformation, I don't really have a lot of time for right now.
Here's what went down. Back in March, the View alum returned to the show to guest co-host and said this.
I think we should prepare. I think we should pray. I'm not going to let coronavirus rule me.
And this.
And I do think our leadership right now is pointing us to say, hey, this is not a panic situation. This is a precautionary situation. We're going to use Purell, wash our hands, and we're going to be okay, guys.
How could it not be a panic situation when you have people dying from this?
Yeah, Meghan, no likey. A few days later, she had this to say about all that.
I think instead we should implore the executives at Fox News, if God forbid anything ever like this happens again, to put more doctors on air with some of these pundits who are, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying I'm a doctor. I never have, but putting in place medical professionals who know what they're talking about.
Reminder here, Elizabeth left The View for a spot on Fox News back in 2013.
A Republican saying that it was, that we should wash our hands and pray it away. So it wasn't just on Fox News that it was happening. It happened right here in The View.
So naturally, when Meghan appeared on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen on Wednesday night, Andy just had to ask about the whole thing.
What were your thoughts on Elizabeth Hasselbeck co-hosting The View and saying we should pray the virus away?
Yeah, somebody actually sent me a screenshot of my face when she said that. I was, I took this virus seriously from the very beginning, and I thought a lot of this rhetoric was really dangerous, and I think it's really unfortunate and dangerous that she said that, and I don't need to co-host with her again.
Oh, damn.
And it's unfortunate because I've been a huge fan for a long time, and anybody who's screwing around with this virus and putting out sort of misinformation, I don't really have a lot of time for right now.
She straight up just said it. Ain't nobody got time for that.
I don't really have a lot of time for right now.
Anyway, Andy also asked the Republican TV personality if Joe Biden has her vote for president.
I love him dearly, and I keep telling everyone, I will promise you will know who I'm voting for, but it really shouldn't take a rocket scientist to know there's one man who has made pain in my life a living hell, and another man who has literally shepherded me through the grief process. This really shouldn't be rocket science for people.
And just in case you can't read between the lines, President Donald Trump is the man who has made her life hell, and the Democratic presidential nominee is said shepherd.
He's just been so integral in my life, especially since my dad got sick. So I'm always my heart over my head in so many different ways, and the Trumps are always they're always making my mom cry.
Meghan's dad, U.S. Senator John McCain, who died in 2018, was a longtime friend of Joe and famously butt heads with Trump. On repeat.
Politics is personal too, and I think character is really important in this moment, and someone who's going to tamp down, and I was actually talking to Eric about this, someone who can tamp down fear and anger instead of making it worse.
Okay, and there you go on that video in that report. And now let's take a look at your celebrity birthdays for today and see which celebrities are celebrating a birthday today. And happy birthday to all of these celebrities for today. We hope they have a wonderful birthday and a wonderful day. And that does it for this edition of Good Morning New Hampshire. Thank you for watching this edition of Good Morning New Hampshire. Have a great rest of your Friday, and I'll see you back here next time for another edition of Good Morning New Hampshire. Goodbye, everyone.